You're listening to the Word Slinger Podcast, episode 136, Riders on a Train with J Thorn. This episode of the Word Slinger Podcast is brought to you by Draft to Digital. Convert your manuscript, distribute it online, and get support the whole way at drafttodigital.com.
It's the Word Slinger Podcast, where story matters. Build your brand, write your book, redefine who you are. It's all about the story here. What's yours? Now, here's the guy who invented pants optional, Kevin Tomlinson, the Word Slinger.
Word Slinger.
Hey everybody, this is Kevin Tomlinson, the Word Slinger. Thank you so much for tuning in yet again, another week. To Chip Polk, it was not a test. Chip wrote me to ask why he hadn't heard a Word Slinger podcast in a couple weeks. One of the reasons was Thanksgiving, which I did announce beforehand would be a difficult time for me to produce an episode. So I did skip Thanksgiving. Last week is a little different story. Last week was was more about technical difficulties than I brought on myself, frankly. Long story short, I had ordered a new computer. I had ordered an iMac. I decided I wanted something with a little more screen real estate, maybe a little more punch, something dedicated to podcasting. Well, I was going to do my writing on it as well, but it would be the at-home on my desk computer for getting everything done. And it came in that day, and lots of things happened. It came in the day I was going to produce the show, and I was going to produce it on that device, and then basically it quickly ate my life. The short version of this whole thing is I sent it back, which is very rare for me. I'm one of those people who psychologically, once it's in my hands, it's mine. But this time, the performance of the thing was so slow, it was so clunky. It looked gorgeous, but it just was not performing the way it should. So I decided I would go back to the MacBook Air for producing this stuff, which works out fine. However, I decided, because I was having some issues with the Air, frankly. I was having some, it was also getting a little clunky and slow. So what I decided to do was reformat, start fresh, and clean it up. And it works brilliantly. However, everything all my little presets and everything I had set up before to do the show were all gone, and I'm having weird little technical glitches. So I'm in now, I'm recording, everything seems to be working just fine, I can hear everything finally. So there you go. I had some technical difficulties that I brought on myself. So now we're gonna get into our interview with J Thorn. I think you're gonna enjoy this interview. I did. And I just want to let everybody know I'm going to have some, I've got a new segment on the show I'm trying to keep up, maintain. I'm doing an indie publishing news minute kind of thing. And I've got some stuff I'm going to announce right after the interview. So stick around for that. It's going to be I think it's going to be a cool feature. It's just adding extra work. I want to tell everyone up front, I'm probably not going to produce more than maybe one episode between now and the end of the year. And in reality, I probably won't produce another episode until 2018. I'm sorry if that's an inconvenience to anyone. And I do understand. But the trick here is going to be figuring out how to break off and do this stuff while I'm engaged in a whole bunch of end-of-year activities. And one of those is family. I've got, Christmas is coming up, and just like you, I got family. So, the Christmas holiday is going to eat up some of that time. But I'm also traveling. Next week, I'll be traveling to Oklahoma City. And while it's theoretically possible for me to do podcasts from there, I anticipate it's going to be a fairly busy and hectic week. So I'm probably not going to produce an episode for next week. And I'm really sorry. So Chip, I'm sorry about that. To everyone else, I do understand the frustration there. because, I mean, and, I get it. I mean, I get upset when shows go on hiatus or something, but it won't be forever. It'll probably be after the new year. I can pick up again. But then again, I may surprise us all and produce 1 or 2 episodes. I try to do some in advance. It's really difficult. It's difficult. Well, it's difficult because of the way I operate, I guess. Because now that I've added video, it adds layers of complication. So, man, I would love to have a simple, easy button. If anyone invents one, let me know. Other than that, the rest of the news I will hold until after this interview. I had this conversation with J Thorn a while back. We were talking about his at that point upcoming. I believe it's already passed, but the the whole Writers on a Train thing. I think you're going to dig that. I know I kind of like the idea of the retreat, the author co-pilot retreat, I guess is what we're calling it. But if and they're going to do this again, so there's going to be plenty of opportunity to check it out, try it out for yourself. I think it's kind of a fun thing. I might actually try to sit in on one of these at some point. So, but anyway, I'm not going to keep you back for any longer. I'm going to let you hop right in. I hope you enjoy this interview with J Thorn. Please stick around to the end of the interview, and I'll see you on the other side. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, so every now and then I talk to somebody who's not just an author, but has some other gig going on, usually something fun. And this one's pretty cool. Now, I know this guy from sort of way back. We're Facebook buddies, and we kind of run in the same circles. So I'm talking to J Thorn. He's the co-founder of Molten Universe Media, and they got something really awesome. We're gonna introduce. I mean, other people already know about this, but it's Authors on a Train, which I just love saying over and over again. Authors on a Train. I feel like I should be doing that in like a Samuel Jackson voice, though. I'm tired of these,
snakes on a plane, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm gonna keep it clean though, because I cannot drop the F-bombs on the Wordslinger podcast. Right? So, Jay, man, thanks for being on the show.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, and we had to reschedule because of the hurricane.
Little
Hurricane
thing
Harvey.
like that.
A little tiny thing that nearly flooded me out of house and home. So
crazy.
No, man, I was really blessed. I did not, when we didn't even lose power. I mean, we were kind of sweating it at the end, but it was, we came off much better than so many other people. So
you're fortunate.
Yeah, blessed. I'm going to go with blessed. Now so thank you for rescheduling, and I do apologize for that. Now, so you are an immense man. You're a giant, because your head is nearly touching the ceiling in this. I told you I was going to call that out.
The people on the audio feed are like, "What?"
They're like, "Huh? He sounds big. He sounds huge.
A big voice."
So you have a stand. So I also have a standing desk. Although when I do the podcast, I pull up a stool, a rescue stool, as I call it. But so you have a standing desk and you're in an attic.
Yes. And,
this isn't like show topic really, but I just I want to put you on the spot.
It's kind of interesting though. When we moved into this house about 12 years ago, it's a really beautiful old neighborhood in Cleveland, like an inner ring suburb from the early 1900s. And our house had an unfinished attic. And as soon as we moved in, I was like, that's going to be my spot, because I knew I need a little separation from the family. So we finished it off, and I love it, but it's definitely it's an unconventional space.
Yeah. Do you ever feel claustrophobic at all? I mean,
no, it's not as small as it looks on the camera. It's really a very decent sized attic. I have a full couch on one side, and I've got guitar amps, and it's nice. It's a nice little office space. That's
cool. I have this obsession with author spaces. So and every now and then you come across like an article on I don't know one of those like Board Panda or something that's like 15 author spaces, and I'll kind of obsess over them for a while. And, most authors are slobs, Neil Gaiman surprised me, like his author space. It's like a epic library, but then, it's kind of on the cluttered side, but I like to keep my stuff neat, man.
I do too, man. My virtual desktop, my real desktop, clear as much as I can.
I'm glad you said virtual desktop too. Because
Yes.
I was telling you, I just did like a video walkthrough, and so I'm the Mac user, like the only one who uses the little what do you call the bar at the bottom of the, the not taskbar, but with all your apps on it.
Oh
I'm the
yeah.
only one who actually uses that and just crams it full of stuff. So I'm sure people will think I'm bizarre. Anyway, so that's been Desktop Talk, everybody, and we thank you for tuning in. I'm going to do a whole thing on author spaces someday.
I
don't
think
know
that'd
what
be pretty fascinating.
I think it'd be pretty cool. I'm gonna now I'm inspired. All right, so but I want to talk about authors on a train, and I feel like there should be a sound effect every time I bring that up. I don't have a sound effect, but so tell me kind of the idea behind that. Like what is authors on a train?
Yeah. So I'll take you back to the beginning. And this may or may not be true, but it's become sort of lore now. So we're just going to roll with it.
We get an apocryphal story. All right. I need a campfire.
Yeah, this is good. This is good. Not really, but, for my day job, 3-4 years ago, I started, I had to go to the West Coast once a year to do some work. And I hate flying, and it's a hassle, and it sucks. And I was looking to do something different. So what I ended up doing was taking Amtrak's California Zephyr, which ran from Chicago. It runs from Chicago to Emeryville, right outside of San Francisco. And it's supposedly the most scenic train route in North America.
Yeah.
And it takes like 49 hours. So it's like 2 nights and 2 days on the train. And so anyways, I tried it out, and it was amazing. I loved it. And I got a ton of writing done because there's no Wi-Fi. It was very spotty cell service. So you're kind of sequestered. Like you're kind of into a situation as a writer that it's a really great place to be.
Right.
And I did this for 2 or 3 years. And then at one point I tweeted a picture of something, and Lindsay Broker happened to see it. And she was like, "Oh, that looks pretty cool. I'd like to write on a train." And that's kind of how it started.
All right.
So I had this idea. I'm like, well, what if, cause I'm really big on collaboration. I've done a lot of collaborations, mostly on the creative side, but also on the marketing and cross promo side.
Right.
So I went to, I talked to Lindsay, Joanna Penn, Zach Broker, and I somehow hoodwinked them into coming with me on a train from Chicago to New Orleans.
Okay.
And our plan was that we were going to meet in Chicago. It's the city of New Orleans, I believe, is the line, and it's a single overnight. It's like 19 hours, and it leaves in the evening and arrives in the afternoon the next day. So what we decided to do is we would meet in Chicago, and we would work on the story on the train, and then we spent 5 days in New Orleans writing the first draft of what became American Demon Hunter Sacrifice.
Oh wow, that's so that there's so many things that are cool about that. So you said, okay, so that train ride, did you say Chicago to New Orleans was an overnight?
Yes.
One night?
It's a one night. It's 19 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long was the whole train trip total though, since you guys were working on a collaboration together? Like,
yeah, we the train boards are around 8 p.m. in Chicago. So,
okay.
Joanna and Lindsay, I think, had met each other in real life before, but Zach and I had not met in real life, and I had not met Joanna or Lindsay. So when we first got to Chicago and we first got on the train, we kind of hung out and we got to say hello and give each other hugs and stuff.
Yeah.
We started working on the story, and then we went to sleep on the train in the sleeper car, which we had. And then the next morning we woke up and we started doing some story plotting and character development and stuff. And then when we got to New Orleans, that's when we started the really like hardcore first drafting.
That's very cool. Yeah. I like that. It kind of reminds me of the whole like mystery train thing, where everybody is on board and there's like people in costume and somebody dies.
What was really cool about it, and like we had decided early on that we were going to set the story in my American Demon Hunters world, mostly out of convenience, because the world was established, the characters were established, and so we could sort of plug this story into that. And what we realized really, really quickly is like what a great treasure trove of opportunity we had being on the train, because we wrote about things that happened on the train, and like the Peruvian chocolate brownie that we had, and the carrot that we killed off, and
right.
like so the trip became part of the story, and the story was
Yeah.
about the trip. So it was just like this really super cool experience.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I kind of dig that as a concept. Like, there is that, and there's a particular name for this sort of thing. And I think it's like a ship in a bottle story.
Yeah.
Star Trek is famous for these because, limited sets or whatever. So, Murder on the Orient Express is that kind of story. Like, it's one limited setting. Also, John Carpenter's The Thing, which is.
Yeah.
So there you go. So you're following in a time honored tradition in a way, but I just kind of dig that whole scene, man. The problem for me, of course, is I just don't collaborate well. I don't play well with others, so I would have to really suck it up to be able to have fun with it, I guess.
I think you'd be surprised.
Yeah,
you'd be surprised what you can do.
Yeah, well, I mean, sure.
I mean, like, here's an example. So, like, Zach, not so much, but definitely Lindsay, definitely Joanna, myself, we're all pretty severe introverts, and we're lone wolves. We like to do stuff on our own. We like to do things our way. And so the four of us coming together, I mean, that poses a whole nother set of challenges. And And I'm not going to stand here and say like we didn't have any creative differences or we were just sitting around a campfire singing all the time. Like, we had to work some things out, but I think everyone sort of brought their best, and what the four of us created was really rich and with different voices, but yet a cohesive story. And we were pretty proud of what we were able to accomplish and surprised by it as well.
Yeah. So was it everyone sort of contributes elements and one person writes the story, or did everybody write something?
The way we did it is everyone took a POV and we wrote from 4 different POVs.
Oh, okay.
And what we realized, what we were trying to do early on was just sort of do it more in a pantsing style. And then we kind of hit a wall where we're like, okay, we're going to need not necessarily like a very detailed outline, but we're going to need some story beats or some structure. Because, early on, Lindsay and I were sort of overwriting each other. Like, we're writing the same scene at the same time, and it wasn't syncing up. So once we kind of circled the wagons and like, all right, hit pause, and then mapped out the basic story, and then we could go off on our own and we could sort of write at our own pace. And we were still reading each other's stuff, but it wasn't entirely dependent because we knew what the overall plot was going to be at that point.
Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, that seems like a good way to handle it. And I'm kind of in a project similar to that, at least in that we're going to have 3 stories focused on the same sort of event. So it's like, so that's pretty cool. So you guys, I assume you published it or are going to. Have you already published it?
Yeah, that was part of our challenge.
Okay.
We made it way harder than it needed to be on purpose.
Okay, on purpose.
Yeah, one of the things we did that we probably said was not the best idea was, first of all, not having a solid outline. That was number 1. But number 2, our goal was to finish the first draft while we were in New Orleans. And so we were each writing like 3,000 to 5,000 words a day because we knew we wanted to hit a word count for a novella. And then the added pressure was like we had our publication date was set. It was like 2 or 3 weeks after the trip ended. So we knew we did not have a ton of time to turn around revisions and get it to an editor and the proofreading and the formatting and like all that stuff that has to come with it. So we created that ourselves. It probably wasn't the best, but it was fun to tackle that challenge.
Yeah, that's cool. So are you publish under one name and then you're sort of splitting the profits from it, or what? Okay.
I'm a publisher of record, just because we needed to have it in one person to manage the title. But all the others names are attached to it. We're all on the cover. We went, a quarter for all the expenses and a quarter for all the royalties, and that's on all formats and all books and every platforms and everything.
That's cool. Yeah. That's the toughest part about the collaborative work, really, is it basically comes down to the easiest way to do it is for somebody to be trustworthy and you hand it over to them.
That's a challenge. And it's, it's a challenge. Like Amazon, for example, was really challenging because Zach and I were in this situation with Molten Universe when we were trying to set things up. Like, we would email KDP support and we would say,
can we create a separate KDP dashboard for Molten Universe? And sometimes they would say yes, and other times they would say no. And we're like, well, do we really want to risk our entire author business on the person who said yes when technically it's no? Because you know how Amazon works. Like you could just wake up one morning and your dashboard's disabled.
No, that's the problem. I don't know how Amazon works, and neither does anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, I love Amazon. I'm not bad mouthing. They're such a behemoth that you know it depends on who you get, and neither of us were willing to risk that based on the first level tech support's response. So in a collaborative effort, whether you're setting up the dashboard on Draft to Digital or whether you're going to direct to Amazon or Kobo or wherever, I think right now, as of September of 2017, I think you're right. I think you do need to have sort of a point person, a publisher of record, and hopefully it's a trustworthy person.
I always wonder about that, because technically, if I start a small press, if I start a small publisher, there's technically no reason, shouldn't be, why I personally, Kevin Tomlinson, can't have my channel with my books, and then my publisher is its own entity with its own tax ID and its own email address, and it has its own channel. Technically, that shouldn't be a problem. But again, we are dealing with Amazon, where problems that weren't problems become problems all of a sudden.
and that may, in fact, what you just described may, in fact, be perfectly legit and be something that Amazon is totally fine with, but we could not get a consistent response, and it's like, well, better play it safe.
I'm just going to put this out there. You can totally do that on Draft Digital. I'm just going to put it out there.
No, you absolutely can, and I'm in the process right now, and I think we're going to get to this because I definitely need to give Draft Digital some serious props, which we'll talk about in a second. But the whole American Demon Hunter series and the book Sacrifice that we did is now coming out of KDP Select, sort of one title at a time, staggered, and probably by mid-October or within, say, 4 weeks, all of those titles will be through Draft to Digital to all the major retailers, and we're pretty excited about that.
That is pretty cool, yeah. What made you decide to go that route?
Well, it was so the route we decided to go with Sacrifice was to go to KDP Select first.
Yeah.
And I think and I talked to Mark at Kobo, and they're great people, and I think it's a pretty standard move these days for a launch is to do the first days in KDP Select, but it doesn't necessarily work for all titles all the time. So I don't. Would we do it again? I don't know. I think Lindsay was the one who was most reticent about going exclusive, and because she has some great readership on other platforms and didn't want to leave them out. And
I know, yeah.
Yeah, we totally get that. And then the hard part though is also like when you go KDP Select, you're essentially getting two markets for the price of one. Kindle Unlimited is a platform, and the regular Amazon is a platform, and so it's hard to pass up those page reads if you get them. But you do trade. That's what you're trading for.
Yeah, so it's all strategy, man. I mean, even I have a series that's in KDP right now. Despite everything else being wide, and it's largely a strategy because of the switch in genres. And I'm trying to build that platform, and there's a weird halo effect that happens when you start doing well on Amazon. You actually start doing well with the rest of your titles across the board. It's just weird. I mean, I have, of course, everything I have other than this 3-book series so far is wide through D2D. I have books that go really well on Select, and suddenly all my books start selling better on D2D. So I don't know what causes that. I'm looking into it. I want to bottle it.
Well, let us know when you figure that out, will you?
I will, man. But it makes a very good argument for going wide with everything. Just saying.
Yeah, it does.
So now, you guys have another of these Author on a Train events. Is this is going to become a regular thing? Huh? You're going to do this like 2 or 3 times a year, or what?
Well, Zach and I have to figure that out. We were sitting around much like the trip we took in March with Joanna and Lindsay. This was not part of our master plan. Zach and I were having dinner outside a bar in the French Quarter on one of our last nights there, and we were saying like, man, wouldn't this be cool if we could do this for other people? Like we knew Lindsay and Joanna weren't interested in doing it again, but we're like, what if we could host it and bring people with us and sort of give them this type of experience? How cool would that be?
Yeah.
And from that conversation, we decide, well, you know what? Let's throw up a landing page. Let's see if people are interested. If they are, we'll do it. If they're not, that's fine, because we don't want to make a full-time gig out of this. We want to write fiction. But as it turned out, people were interested. And a credit to Draft Digital and to you and to Dan Wood. You guys stepped up, and along with some other great sponsors, are sponsoring this retreat.
It's okay to name the other sponsors. We're not limited. Isn't Kobo one of the sponsors?
Yeah, so we got
we love Kobo.
Kobo is sponsoring. Find Away Voices is sponsoring.
Yeah, one of our partners.
Yeah, Symmetric Design, the Sell More Book Show, and then just recently we added Literature and Latte, who's sponsoring people, and Vellum have signed on to sponsor us. So
I won't hold Vellum against you.
I was a little bit. There's a little bit of rub there. But,
no, that's good. Vellum, by the way, and I just want to make this clear because I had a whole thing about Vellum. Like we just released our templates, our ebook templates, and I kind of poked at Vellum a little, but we actually love Vellum because it's beautiful, and it's it's a little out of reach for some authors, but it's because it's not just the software cost, but the hardware. A lot of authors don't use Macs, and which I don't know, I don't understand that, but anyway, there, I've smoothed things over.
No, in all seriousness, like we did not we approached companies, and we approached companies whose products we've been using for years. We thought that was important to have a really authentic connection, and
right.
You and Dan at D2D, and Mark and Kelly at Find Away, all of you guys and all of your businesses really believe in supporting independent authors and have been part of this community for a long time, and it just seemed like a really natural and organic fit.
Yeah, man. Well, I agree. We're happy to be a part of it. I'm gonna keep pushing you to get like some, as part of our sponsorship, getting a certain word slinger on the train. I'm gonna keep messing with you on that.
Well, I mean, to go
because I think word slinger on a train would make a great episode title. I'm just saying.
Well, and Zach, you asked me a few minutes ago, like, are we going to do more of these? So, I think what we have now is the good news is we sold out this trip in November. We had decided that we were gonna only take 8 people because we wanted to be able to completely manage it and really knock it out of the park. And so we're like, okay, we'll cut it off at 8, and we sold that out, and we have a wait list now, and we would definitely like to do 1 or maybe 2 of these a year, depending on demand. And and we'd love to get a word slinger on a few.
There you go. I'll podcast live, dude. So I'm going to throw in whatever I can throw in.
All right.
All right. So okay. So you have another one come up. What's the route for the next one?
We're going to do the same type of trip. Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to go from Chicago to New Orleans. We're going to spend 5 days or so in New Orleans. Where it's a little different is that, Joanna and Lindsay are very seasoned veterans of this industry, and what we're doing now is we're taking people who really want to learn how to collaborate but haven't had an opportunity to try it yet, and so we're going to manage the collaboration aspect and help people co-write stories together, which we'll publish as a single anthology. And then in the afternoon portion of our days in New Orleans, we're going to do like marketing and publishing workshops for these 8 people.
Okay. And when is that happening?
That's going to be the first or second week of November. I forget the exact date. But,
everything is happening in that time. That's why I couldn't go this time. I got like 100 different conferences. But no, that's awesome, man. The whole concept is just very cool. And it's kind of cool how it came about, and just sort of a, hey, what if, while in New Orleans. Well, the funny thing for me would be, I'd have to fly to Chicago, ride the train back to New Orleans, and basically just drive home from New Orleans.
Yeah. Zach made this funny joke because Zach lives in Nashville, and the train goes through Memphis, which is only like a 2.5-3 hour drive between Nashville and Memphis. Yeah. So Zach flew from Nashville to Chicago, got on the train, slept on the train, woke up the next morning in Memphis. So,
That's actually pretty funny.
Yeah, I'm like, well, it's about the experience, buddy.
I should just drive to New Orleans when you guys are going to be there, and just
just
we
drop
can go to
in.
Cafe Du Monde or something. And
Definitely. I mean, we've got nice shout out to Launchpad NOLA. They're providing us some workspace while we're there, right off the French Quarter, and we're all staying in the French Quarter. So yeah, absolutely. If you want to drop in on us, I think Kelly from Findaway it might be dropping in too. So by all means.
Yeah. I'll ask him. Kelly and I are going to be on Self-Publishing Podcast tomorrow. So
nice. Okay.
I'll ask him if he's what he's planning to do.
Yeah,
I think he would be interesting to see him in New Orleans. Actually,
yeah,
he's a good guy. So okay, so you're going to do that round, and this round's more about sort of almost a teachable moment, teaching collaboration. Okay.
Yep.
What's the end product there? Are you guys going to do another book? I assume,
Yeah, it took us a while to figure this out because, we're bringing 8 strangers together. So we, and across genres and stuff.
It sounds like the tagline of a horror movie. 8 strangers.
8 strangers
meet on a train to New Orleans.
Oh, yeah. I hope it won't be a horror story. But
yeah.
We're gonna end up publishing an anthology, and we're gonna make it a New Orleans themed anthology. And so hopefully that'll give people enough latitude that they'll be able to write a story that they're passionate about, and then somehow tie the whole anthology together. And one of the things that Zach and I decided to do is him and I are going to write a short story together. But all of our prep meetings, our story meetings, all of our plotting, we're going to do that in front of people, in front of these 8 people, so that we can model for them sort of our collaborative process. Not that it's the right way, but it's one way, and it'll give them some ideas, hopefully.
Yeah, that's very cool. I could see doing a kind of pre-trained webinar kind of thing where everybody can sit in at home, and then you send them sort of the show Bible of the of the universe. Like here's the main characters. Here's the things you can do. I could see doing that. This would become a thing, man.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, and Zach and I are really looking forward to it. And like I said earlier, we're not trying to make a business out of this. We just thought it'd be a really cool experience, and if we can do it for a year, for as long as people want to have them, we had such a good time, and it was so transformative for us.
Yeah,
that we know it's going to be great for other people.
Well, it's kind of like a mobile authors conference.
Yeah,
like you guys are just kind of get together with other authors, and everybody you have a project to unite you, but just being there is kind of the cool part.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that there's nothing wrong with writers' retreats, but a lot of times writers' retreats have there's a singular location, but there's not a goal. There's not a team goal or a team target, and this gives everyone the opportunity to work towards a common goal within that short amount of time. Plus, you get the advantage of being in New Orleans for 5 days.
Right, exactly.
I mean,
5 days. And then you ride the train back, or does everybody just go their separate ways from New Orleans?
Everyone will probably go their separate ways from there.
Oh, okay. What about you? Are you riding the train? Or are you flying?
I probably will. Yeah. It's surprisingly affordable. And
how much is it to do the train?
It depending on your accommodations and stuff. And one way it's a couple $100, maybe $300-400, something like that. And that includes the sleeper car and the meals while you're on the train. So it's not the fastest. It's definitely not the cheapest. But if you're not in a hurry, it's a good way to go.
My wife and I have a vacation coming up in late October and early November, and we have not settled on what we actually want to do. So maybe I can talk her into, New Orleans to Chicago. She would dig that.
Yeah.
I bet I could pitch that. I bet I could just text her right now and say, here's my thought. And then suddenly she'll buy train tickets.
Well, that's a great option for someone who's never been on a train, because you get the overnight experience, but it's one 19-hour trip as opposed to like going all the way across the country.
Right. Well, see, and we don't have, I say this, and then I think I spotted like an Amtrak or something, but as far as I can determine, there's no like train service out of Houston. Like I can't find a way to board a train. I can get on a bus and ride to Dallas and get on a train. But that's the best I've found so far. And I've always wanted to do this, by the way. Like get on a train. When we were in Europe, we did a whole cross country thing in Europe, for a couple of days on different trains. And, I wrote a big chunk of my first series was written on that train. So, I would love to do that. I'd do that just for the heck of it. I'll spend, $400 or $500 to go from one spot to another.
And then like there is something that you can't really quantify. I won't call it magical, but there's some juju in being on the train and being a writer, and you get inspired. Like
it's a callback. You're like F. Scott Fitzgerald and Hemingway. I mean,
yeah,
I'm sure. And Agatha Christie. Yeah. Well, I'm going to claim it, whether I am or not. I'm going to claim it. All right, man. Okay, so how? Getting into this and like how much does it cost someone to participate in this, by the way?
Yeah, it's an investment. We have marketed this as a very high end experience. It's a once in a lifetime experience.
Yeah.
So we're not shy about what we're charging for it or apologizing for it, but it's thousands of dollars, and it's really for people who want to make an investment in their writing career, and they see collaboration as a way to get there, because that's really what we're teaching. We're teaching people, how do you find the right person? And when you find the right person, how do you get to market with it? Because just find the right person doesn't mean you end up with a publishable product.
Right.
So it's, it's comparable to a high-end writer's retreat or workshop. But you get a product at the end, you get the experience in the city, and hopefully you get to learn.
Yeah. So it's like the whole package.
Yeah.
Worthwhile. All right. So we're kind of coming to the end, so we'll wrap up. But where can people find out about? Well, let's start with writers, authors on a train. Where can they find out more about that?
.com. Authorsonatrain.com.
I would have it no other way. Which, by the way, when your list of URLs you gave me, that was not one of them. So now I have to type it.
I just added it recently, so that's why I haven't. I'm glad you reminded me to put it in my email signature, because that's I haven't put that on there yet. But authorsonatrain.com. There's a little interest form. There's no commitment. That'll get you on the list and to be notified for the next one. So
yeah. No, I think it's great, man. And where can people find more about you and Molten Universe Media?
Yeah, those are pretty straightforward URLs. So moltenuniversemedia.com, and I'm at jthorn.net.
There you go. Straightforward URLs is what we're all about.
Yeah, that's what you got to go for these days.
Exactly. All right, man. Hey, so you hang out. We're going to do the Word Slinger after show with me and you. Everybody else, unless you're a Patreon subscriber, sorry guys, you don't get to hear that one. Wah, wah. But you can be easily enough if you hop on over to Patreon and support the show. Hopefully I've got it set up by now. Otherwise I'm just a big buffoon talking up something that doesn't exist. But anyway, Jay, thanks so much for being on the show, man. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for supporting us. We really
got it, man. We're there for you. Everybody else, you may be hearing the groovy bridge music right now. You may dance in place at will. And I'll see you on the other side with some housekeeping and updates. Otherwise, see you next time. Hey, welcome back. Okay, now prepare yourself and listen to this. Now that, my friends, is one of the new Dan Kotler themes, and that was actually produced by Nick Thacker, a good friend of mine. You have heard him on the show before, and I'm going to let this run underneath me, man. That's making me feel very dramatic. But Nick has started a new service, and this is one of the indie publishing news items on this week's list. Nick Thacker has created Sonata and Scribe, which aims to provide original orchestrated music for your books. He's doing this for several people now, so you're gonna want to check this out. Go to sonataandscribe.com. I'll have a link to that in the show notes. You're gonna want to do this, because is this cool or what? All right. As the music fades out, more interesting news this week in indie publishing. Goodreads will now charge for its giveaway program, making it a lot harder for readers to discover indie books. The Amazon-owned service announced that it will begin charging authors and publishers for what was once a free service, the ability to create and manage contests to give away free books to readers. Authors can now expect to pay between $119 and $599 for the service. Wow. And it remains to be seen, honestly, whether authors will actually use it or will instead go to use something else, like perhaps BookFunnel, where you can probably do it better anyway. You'll find a link to a story about this in the show notes. My opinion on that, I think it's insane. I think it's insane for Goodreads to start charging that amount of money. I think the $119 price tag might be considered okay-ish. I actually think that should be the premium price, and they should offer this at a much lower price, because what you're doing, honestly, is encouraging people to be a Goodreads follower and to participate, and Amazon's able to gather demographic information from this, while you are able to encourage new readers, and new readers is what it's all about. So I think charging for it doesn't bother me as much as the amount they're charging for it. Opinions vary on this. When I brought this up on Twitter, I got called entitled. So anyway, I won't be paying for it. How's that for a reverse endorsement? Go do what you want to do. Speaking of Amazon, Amazon is launching yet another new imprint. This time it's focused on the Kindle Singles store. Amazon Original Stories will release short fiction and nonfiction works that can be read in a single sitting. These will be free to Prime and Kindle Unlimited subscribers, of course. And otherwise, it's going to cost you $1.99 per download. I personally think this is a good idea. I like this idea. I think it's going to be particularly useful for essayists, people who are writing short nonfiction. So if you want to publish and get a following for your nonfiction work, I think this is a good way to do it and possibly make a little bit of scratch on the side. Of course, I'm a big believer in short fiction, though I have not done much short fiction lately. A large body of my work is built on novellas and short stories. So I kind of like this idea. I'm actually going to look into it myself. I don't know what the qualifications and restrictions and permissions and that sort of thing are when it comes to this, but I'm going to see if I can become involved in it. It may be an invite-only thing now that I think about it. Seems to be the way the Amazon imprint things work, but we'll see. I'm going to check it out anyway. I think you probably will want to do the same. But why I think this is cool and possibly and potentially important is where it actually is encouraging readers to sort of become more active with this kind of short content. And I think short content is really a key. Moving into 2018, since we are at the tag end of 2017, this may well be the last Wordslinger podcast of the year. Let me offer some predictions for 2018. I believe that 2018 is going to be a year of content marketing for authors. Content marketing is not a new concept by any stretch. However, a lot of authors, the approach that they have taken with content marketing, if they've done it at all, has been a little different than the rest of the industries. The online marketing industry is constantly evolving and changing. They're doing new things with content marketing that are interesting. I think for the author, we're going to start seeing a growth in sort of short content. The stuff that's easily consumed in a single sitting, and just like the Kindle Singles. I think we're going to start seeing more short fiction hitting the digital bookshelves. I think we're going to start seeing more short nonfiction as well. I'm excited about this as a prospect, actually. But in addition to that, the content does not exclude everything that isn't writing. So you've also got the opportunity now to reach your audience through video and audio in a way that was slowly becoming possible before, but is now much more attainable through platforms like Facebook Live and that sort of thing. We're starting to see a lot more interaction and engagement between authors and readers in those formats. So I think it's true. I think 2018 is the year of the content for authors and publishers. Year of content. That's what I'm going to make it. So let me know if you have any opinions on this. You got anything? If you want to contribute news items, this is a new feature and I could use the help. So hop on over to wordslingerpodcast.com. Use the contact form. I'm probably going to make something official at some point in the future so that it's a little easier for people to contribute these kind of stories. But go check it out. I appreciate it. Now, this episode of the Word Slinger podcast is, of course, sponsored in part by Draft to Digital, where you can convert, publish, and distribute your book worldwide with support the whole way. Go check them out at drafttodigital.com/wordslinger. You can hop in there and, get yourself set up, and you can actually, I'm telling you, in like 10 minutes, it takes 10 minutes or less to go from uploading your book and setting everything up to publishing, hitting publish on it. So remarkable. And speaking of short fiction, I mean, I wrote a short story. I've talked about this before. I wrote a short story while standing in line for a ride at Disney World. I designed a cover. I put it all together, got all the way up to publish, the publish button in Draft to Digital, and that included my free ebook layout with free templates and that sort of thing. So go. What are you doing? Go do it. Also brought to you in part by KDP Rocket. Now you can take control. You can get more readers. You can increase your Kindle rankings using KDP Rocket to fine-tune your keywords and improve your SEO on Google and other search engines. This is a cool tool. You're going to check this out. And if you go check it out at bit.ly/KDP Slinger, I get a little kickback for everybody who buys a copy of this. So very reasonably priced, in my opinion. It's a great tool, very powerful tool, and Dave Chesham is always updating and upgrading that. So you're going to want to tune into that. Plus, he's very dedicated to providing insight for the for indie author community. So definitely someone you're going to want to follow. You can support the show as well if you subscribe and share. Subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, elsewhere. Make sure you are leaving reviews. Man, those are helpful. If you'll go leave me a review, go give me 4 or 5 stars, and tell me a little bit about what you dig about the show. That helps other people discover the show. So I really appreciate that. I don't know if you heard that ding. That was Kara saying hello to everybody. And you can also support us on Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/Kevin Tomlinson, you'll be able to donate financially to the show. And every penny goes to the overhead of the show. So I really appreciate that. And of course, if you want to support me personally, the best way to do it, my favorite way to do it, is buy my books. Go to kevintomlinson.com/books. Currently, I am an archaeological thriller writer. My Dan Kotler books are the same kind of exciting stories you can get from Dan Brown. They've been compared to Clive Cussler. They've been compared in film to National Treasure, books like that, stories like that. So if you enjoy those kind of stories, go check it out. kevintomlinson.com/books. If you're a sci-fi reader, there's a nice sci-fi catalog there, and you can also pick up my YA fiction, which is a lot of fun. I actually I enjoyed my Sawyer Jackson books quite a bit. So that's it for this week. As we go into the Christmas holiday season, I want to say to everybody, first of all, I'm sorry that I may not get to talk to you again before 2018, but as we go into the season, I just want you to make sure you take care of yourselves. Make sure that you are doing, what the intention of the season is, which is spending time with loved ones, family, friends, being loving and being loved. Those are the things that are important. So if you are an indie author, most of you are, I believe, this is the stuff that makes all the work you do throughout the year worthwhile. So as we close out 2017 and we move into 2018, just remember, you are where you are now because of the work you did yesterday. If you want to get to a new and better place tomorrow, you can start right now and start shaping your life through your beliefs, through your attitude, through your actions. I'm honored to be a part of that. So any advice I can give, any help I can give, I will. So God bless each and every one of you. Have a Merry Christmas if I don't speak to you between now and then. And a Happy New Year. And I'll see you all on the other side in 2018. Take care.
Word Slinger.